The same baby who gets confused by a game of peekaboo
Where's Daddy? What? Where did you go?
is also the same one who casually assembles a gun to deal with a bully.
Little guy assemble. So where are you from?
Make no mistake, Stewie might just be the real villain of Family Guy. He was literally born to take over the world. This little guy is an absolute killing machine, and today, we're tallying up his entire kill count. Let's kick things off with a time Stewie had his heart broken and decided murder was the best way to cope. It all starts when he sees his old flame, child actress Olivia, on the news. Her Hollywood career is crashing and she's making a final appearance at the Quahog Mall. Stewie shows up to gloat, but instead falls for her all over again. Problem is, Olivia isn't interested. So Stewie tries the Quagmire method. Treat her badly. Shockingly, it works. But their relationship quickly turns into a nightmare. Constant bickering, petty fights, and the last straw. Stewie catches Olivia playing house with another boy, so the little fella burns down their pretend home with them still inside.
Are you gonna be all right?
Yeah, I'll be fine. Is that smoke?
Idea for a farce. Cheating wife and Papa's ass burned alive.
Cold and heartless, just like when he drops down a person with a clean sniper shot. This was in the episode, and then there were fewer. There was a string of murders, picking people off one by one. But no, Stewie wasn't responsible for any of this. As the bodies pile up, suspicion eventually lands on Tom Tucker. Everyone is convinced he's the killer. But it turns out the real murderer was Diane Simmons. And honestly, she almost got away with it. Almost. That is, until she made one crucial mistake. She decided Lois had to be her next victim. That's when Stewie stepped in, because if there's one thing Stewie won't tolerate, it's someone trying to take his mom out. That's gotta be his job.
If anybody's gonna take that bitch down, it's gonna be me.
It's a weird protectiveness, sure, so don't go playing with what Stewie holds dear even if he has his own evil intentions towards it. This was the mistake New Brian made. When New Brian was brought into the house because it seemed Brian was getting old, New Brian started getting comfy with the rest of the household. But Stewie didn't like that at all. But he could have handled all that until New Brian did the unforgivable.
What did you say?
Rupert. Humped him for 2 hours yesterday. He just laid there and took it.
Admitting that was an immediate death sentence. Yep, mess with Rupert and you're a goner. But that's just interesting because Stewie has had to personally dispatch Rupert himself.
In that case, you leave me no choice.
After a falling out with Brian over a Sonny and Cher costume, Stewie decided to ditch him and go trick-or-treating with someone else, his beloved teddy bear Rupert. Using one of his gadgets, Stewie brought Rupert to life, hoping for some Halloween fun. At first, it seemed like the experiment failed, but turns out Rupert heard Stewie angrily venting about how he wished Brian were dead, and he took it literally. Rupert secretly set out to murder Brian, and Stewie only realized what was happening just in time to stop him. Confronting Rupert, Stewie learns that the bear resents always being second to Brian and wanted to eliminate the competition for good. Left with no choice, Stewie drowned Rupert in the toilet to stop the madness.
You stay.
I know he later brought out a fresh Rupert from the dryer, but I'll still count this. Add this too.
See you on the other side.
Turns out, Stewie's protectiveness for his family even covers Meg. In Lego My Mego, Meg gets captured and a terrible fate awaits her. Peter was no good and the same with Lois, so who better to step in than Stewie? Teaming up with Brian, he hunts down the men who took his dear sister and lets them know not to mess with the Griffins. That knowledge, of course, came with a trail of bodies. Stewie channels his full Liam Neeson energy, quickly had the first two men taken off with the brutality of a gun. He fought the last guy and brought him down, but I don't think after questioning him, he graciously let him live.
Where is this girl? Where is she?
We keep girls upstairs.
I hope you burn in hell.
But when Stewie and Brian ended up captured and locked up in a basement, they eventually break loose, and Stewie ends up knocking one of the thugs out with a chair.
Just chain him up to a pipe, idiots.
And when he finally got the information for where Meg was being kept, he headed there. But here's the thing, Meg was kind of happy for how her situation turned out because she was abducted to be married to a wealthy Arabian prince. But before she could enjoy her new reality and luck, Stewie showed up to rescue the damsel in distress.
No! Stewie?
Hi, Meg.
That's how determined the little genius evil baby is. You better not be on his wrong side, because that's how you'll get crossed off. Because you have to wonder what Matthew McConaughey ever did to this young fella. Because first, when Stewie had access to the control center of an airport, his first point of call was to redirect McConaughey's plane to crash.
Evan, Matthew McConaughey's private jet, requesting permission to land.
Matthew McConaughey. Oh, sorry, Sierra Tango 817. All our runways are filled.
But it looks empty from up here. We're almost out of fuel.
No room at all. But lucky for you, there's a big new airport out in the middle of the ocean.
Matt survived, thank goodness, but rather than be thankful for his life and let bygones be bygones, he thought it was wise to come to the Griffin home to confront Stewie, and well, he met his fate.
Matthew McConaughey? Yeah, I'm looking for a guy named Stewie. Ow!
Chris, grab his legs. I gotta bury this thing.
But
Grab his legs!
That's what you get for not knowing when to walk away or call it quits. Like Vern and Johnny, the musical duo should have known when their time was up, but nah, they kept the music gig going, and when Stewie had had enough, it was time to put an end to their nuisance.
Okay, they're dead, all right? We're not gonna be seeing them again.
And speaking of taking out someone for being a nuisance, in the episode Chitty Chitty Death Bang, Stewie shows up with a laser gun to deal with the Man in White. Why? Well, Stewie believes that since he was delivered by a man in white, aka Doctor in white robes, his first birthday means that same man will return to shove him back into Lois's womb. And to Stewie, the idea of being trapped again in that bastille of a womb is pure horror. But don't feel too bad for the guy. Turns out he was actually leading a cult and had already convinced his followers to drink poison. When he came to the Griffin house to get Meg too, Stewie zapped him. Problem solved.
What is this? It's a boy.
But there was an earlier body before this. When Stewie first learned of the Man in White showing up, young Stewie had first decided to run. But when he got to the airport, an unfortunate man decided to stop him and give him advice. Should have minded his business, because what did he get in return? Frozen in carbonite.
Only hope my heartfelt thanks will keep you warm as you spend the next 10 years in frozen carbonite.
But we're counting that too in the kill count, because who stays frozen in carbonite for 10 years and lives? The little boy in diapers is really someone you pray not to come across, even if he is meant to be a baby in a manger. In the episode Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Stewie played baby Jesus in a biblical reimagining. King Herod happens to be nobody but Carter. Just as the biblical account goes, Carter learns of the prophecy about a new king being born and decides the best solution is to send soldiers to kill him. But what they didn't expect was that Stewie was just as much a menace and not to be messed with, even when he was to be a messiah.
The virgin mom. But I am one bad mother.
He literally brought a fighter jet to a sword fight. The soldiers didn't even get a chance to draw their swords, and in one swift airstrike, Stewie cleared out at least 15 royal soldiers in a single scene. Guess that's a whole new perspective for the Christmas holiday. And about that, this dude traumatized Christmas permanently for a little girl. How so? Well, first, after Santa scoffed at him at the mall, Stewie decided to get revenge by taking out Santa Claus. So he had Brian journey with him to the North Pole, but arriving at the North Pole, what does he find? Well, it wasn't exactly as he had pictured. Santa had deformed elves working tirelessly to keep up with the demand, then Santa himself collapses, and now Stewie and Brian take over the task of delivering gifts for Christmas. But things go horribly wrong. The first house they break into, Stewie ends up making the family hate Christmas forever.
It's kind of a funny story.
What the hell did you do? He was gonna call the cops, man. You can't call the cops on Santa.
Pretty sure you can call the cops on a dude wielding a baton and claiming to be Santa. Now, the wife and kid are woken by the noise, so they come down to see what's going on, but to their horror, they meet the psychopath of a baby cleaning blood off the floor. Stewie then goes ahead to take out the mother as well.
Help! Help! Mommy!
It's okay. Brian, see if you can find some duct tape.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Damn, 2 bodies just like that and a child that would need therapy for the rest of her life. But speaking of therapists, one had the unfortunate circumstance of meeting Stewie. Because if Stewie is not taking out a fellow because he wants no chance to return to Lois's womb, he's willing to do anything to make sure he's never exposed as a vulnerable person in need of acceptance. Well, only his therapist knew that. Knew because after opening up to the man, Stewie took client confidentiality to the extreme. And by that, I mean he watched the poor man have a heart attack but refused to pass him his meds.
So, this is how you leave me.
Sorry.
Engrossing death.
He basically stayed there coldly while the man passed away. That's just brutal and cold, and yes, oh yes, that death is on him. Sometimes he doesn't need a legitimate reason to off you, because what did this Quagmire girl do to warrant getting sniped?
The prostitute should be exiting Quagmire's house in 3, 2... Hey, thanks a lot. I had a swell time last night.
Guess. If you discuss Stewie for no apparent reason, just know you're getting toast. Worst case is if you're a celebrity he has a beef with, like when he met Colin Farrell. The young man was just standing there minding his business, smoking a cigar, but then comes Stewie, and next thing you know it...
Pants to be intact, but you're just not gonna listen, are you? My God, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to kill you.
Apparently, minding your business doesn't mean you're safe from Stewie, because James Cameron was quietly on his own, deep under the ocean filming the Titanic. How much farther away and doing your own thing do you need to be secure? None of that matters, because Stewie decides he's got a good idea for a prank to pull, and well, he ends up pulling James Cameron's legs. Literally.
This is gonna be so great!
The kind of intrusive thoughts that get into his football-shaped head are definitely to be feared because what he calls silly pranks is a death count, and poor Meg got a taste of that.
Hey, Brian, check it out. Meg's poking around the cargo hold. I'm gonna give her a little scare.
For someone who's a genius, how exactly did he think opening the cargo hold would have a different kind of outcome? Yep, I'm still counting it as part of his kill count, even if it wasn't a permanent death for Meg. This dude has taken out his family members like blood ties means nothing to him. Like, when the family had to sort out their unnecessary stuff to declutter the house, everyone was getting rid of their unneeded stuff. Now, Stewie decided that his ribbons from birthday were too prized a possession to get rid of, so when Peter asked an innocent question, he got a response with, well, an arrow in the eye.
Ribbons?
Hey, little guy, how's the sorting going?
I'm not getting rid of my ribbons! Oh!
I just wanted to know if I could borrow a ribbon. Oh.
Still adding to his kill count with that one. And when Peter became a mobster to prepare his kids for the gangster life, he had Stewie do something in the line of taking out Brian. Turns out Brian ate his precious Stelladora breakfast cookies, but rather than have a reasonable discussion about it, Stewie suggests to Brian that the two of them go fishing together. There's also the time he strangled Chris, because somehow that's what Italians do.
Well, if we're gonna be Italian, I guess we should start murdering our brothers.
Where are you at?
You break my heart, Chris. You break my heart.
Hold on, are we just going to ignore the fact that Stewie's walking around with a garrote in his pocket? Another time he also took Chris out to the woods, kind of like Lenny and George. They had worked their way to a ranch for a new job, but things went wrong when Chris misunderstood a woman who told him to destroy her and accidentally killed her. To keep Chris from getting hanged, Stewie had to mercy kill him.
Yeah, sure thing. But while I do that, why don't you face away from me and count the stars?
Okay.
All right, so the B&B will have a rack of single-gear bikes for every guest. And yes, next to that, of course, is going to be the big giant rabbit hutch. Bye-bye, Lenny.
Touching, but still adding to his kill count at tally. Oh, and let's not forget the time Stewie had his entire family blown up. How did that happen? Well, in the future, Stewie is living large, rich, and successful, while the rest of the Griffins are all broke and struggling. Then one day, he learns Peter is dying, and they want Stewie to come home. The real reason? To guilt him into giving them some of his fortune. After Peter dies, Stewie finally agrees and transfers all his wealth to the family. But what they didn't realize was that even as an old man, Stewie was still the same manipulative genius. He saw through their scam from the start. So while they celebrated conning him, Stewie had something else planned.
You're too stupid to notice I snuck into the kitchen and turned up the gas before I left. Chris should be lighting his cigar right about...
It turned out it was all his imagination and didn't actually happen, so okay, this wouldn't count. But then we all know he's just as capable of carrying out this evil plan. Other than daydreaming about blowing up his entire family, he also had to fight off his half-brother Bertram. Their first encounter happened when Stewie had shrunk into Peter's balls. Stewie had done so with the intention of taking out any sperm cells so Peter and Lois wouldn't make another baby. When Bertram was born, they ended up fighting for control, and Bertram finally came up with the idea of traveling back to the past to kill Stewie's ancestor. Well, Stewie followed him to the past, defended his ancestor Leonardo da Vinci, and engaged Bertram in an epic battle. Stewie ended up proving who was more vicious. He took out Bertram cold with an arrow to the head.
Hey, Bertram, what's your favorite kind of bottled water? Mine's Arrowhead.
Even if you're supposed to be a horror villain, Stewie's the person you are to fear. Ask the twins from the Shining book and movie. When he ran into them in the hallway, well, they were sure to regret encountering the British-talking psychopath of a baby.
The solarium is at the far end of the west.
Come play with us, Stewie. Forever and ever and ever.
If all work and no play makes Stewie a dull boy.
And Family Guy had also done the thing where they made parodies of other Stephen King books. The episode is Three Kings, and in one of them, Stewie added another body to his count. In it, he was a deranged little girl who at first seemed to have rescued Brian from an accident, but it turned out to be a kidnapping. So Brian was an author, but after Stewie read his manuscript, he didn't like how the story went because of one of the characters that was killed off. So he demanded that Brian rewrite the story. But when it looked like Brian wasn't going to comply, Stewie made him know just how creepy and dangerous he could be. But luckily for Brian, Joe showed up, or more accurately, unluckily for Joe, because when he came to save the day, Stewie appeared and put a stop to such plans.
Back!
Oh no, it wasn't just his legs he took out, he took his life.
I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair!
No, you're not.
In another situation, he again ended Joe, but this time with a sword.
There he is. There's the dumbass I've been looking for.
Mercutio!
I'm just gonna go ahead and mention the time Stewie created a whole simulation to kill Lois. Even though Lois somehow survived, there was someone else he actually did kill in that simulation. When she exposed him as the killer, Stewie ran away. While everyone was out searching for him, they had no idea he'd gone back to the one place they wouldn't expect, the Griffin house. By the time they got there, the little guy was already inside, waiting with a gun to take them hostage. And just as they were scrambling to figure out how to escape, that's when Cleveland randomly decided to drop by.
I'll do it.
Hey, Griffins, just checking in.
Holy crap!
Stewie isn't the kind of baby to throw a typical tantrum when he doesn't get what he wants. No crying, no flailing around. His tantrums come with death threats and actual torture. Yes, it's that barbaric. Take the time he wanted to go to a Hannah Montana concert in Quahog. Unfortunately for him, the show was completely sold out. But was Stewie going to accept defeat like a normal child? Of course not. He turned to Brian for help, hoping his canine buddy would assist in his fanboy mission. But Brian said no. Big mistake. Instead of begging or negotiating, Stewie went full psychological horror. He lured Brian to his computer and casually pulled up a file. On screen, a live feed of Brian's long-lost siblings, each locked in a separate cage, but then Brian had no idea the fate that was awaiting them.
Recognize him, Brian?
No.
It's your brother. I found him for you, buddy.
What? Jerry? What's that big thing around his neck?
Oh, I'll show you.
And then, without hesitation, Stewie blows the dog up. He didn't flinch or show a single remorse.
His neck.
Oh, I'll show you.
Ah! Oh my god! Oh my god! What did you do?
I killed him, Brian.
But here's the thing, that was just one dog. There were 9 in the litter.
And he's the lucky one. He went quickly. There were 9 dogs in that litter. Now, are you gonna help me get those Hannah Montana tickets?
Okay, I'll help you.
Just how brutal can this kid be? The crazy part about this is how a baby can track down 8 dogs born years ago on a random farm in Texas, but can't get tickets to a Hannah Montana concert. But then the math and thought process never need to add up logically with Stewie. Like the time he and Brian decided to try their hand at house flipping. Sounded simple, sure, but well, not with Stewie involved. His brilliant idea was to buy a house so run down, the walls were crumbling, the roof was practically falling in, and the place looked like it had been hit by a small apocalypse. The plan? Buy it dirt cheap, because honestly, the house might as well have been dirt, fix it up, and sell it for profit. Brian wasn't sold on the idea, but he went along with it anyway. Another big mistake. After several failed renovation attempts, Stewie finally admitted it was a disaster from day one. But to make matters worse, they had poured all their money into it. So what was Stewie's next move? Naturally, insurance fraud. He decided the best way out was to blow up the house and collect the insurance money.
We're gonna want to be leaving now.
Why?
Because I just emptied a full tank of gasoline and lit a match. We've got about 5 seconds.
But there was just one small complication with that plan.
Didn't we have an electrician in there today?
He left. Pretty sure he left.
Isn't that his truck?
Well, by God, Brian, we're murderers. I guess this means you'll be going to doggy hell.
Nope, that's all on you, Stewie. You're not sharing the blame. And get this, we're not even through the entire list of Stewie Griffin's body count, and the kid's already sitting at 59. And that's just the appetizer. What's coming up next? Pure unfiltered madness. But before we go any deeper, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss what this tiny maniac does next. Great, now let's get back into it. By now, you should all know that Stewie is the one person capable of turning a simple holiday activity into a bloodbath, like when it was Halloween and trick-or-treaters were out on the street. At first, Stewie was alarmed at the disguises of the trick-or-treaters, and you just wonder how this is the same kid that built a time machine being confused by Halloween costumes. Thinking the trick-or-treaters were vampires, Stewie came up with a solution of how to deal with them.
All right, you undead bastards, time to send you back to hell!
That aimless firing in such a crowded street full of kids, even if bodies were not shown on screen, I'll just go ahead and charge him with 50 deaths. I think I can very much do that. You know that saying, show me your friend and I'll tell you who you are? Well, in Stewie's case, it's more like, show me your love interest and I'll show you how evil the two of you can be together. This is where Penelope comes in. She's the girl who didn't just steal Stewie's heart, but matched his villainy step for step. Their twisted little love story began when Brian took Stewie to the park to make up for a rough day. That's where Stewie met Penelope, a girl who instantly caught his eye when she served cold, calculated revenge on a boy who pushed Stewie by handing him taffy laced with superglue. Stewie was hooked. Later, while hanging out at her place, he discovered they shared a mutual love for chaos and weaponry. But Penelope had taken a step further. She had already killed her own mother. That's when Stewie knew this wasn't just a crush, this was his soulmate.
She was taking a tub and somebody came in and cut her head off.
Wait a moment. Did you kill her?
Well, I held the knife.
So naturally, they started plotting and causing mayhem together. Their first target, Mort. Stewie planted a bomb in Mort's wallet expecting a quick kaboom, but Mort didn't check his wallet for 2 full weeks, which forced Stewie to improvise. So he built a new trigger device, this time set to explode the next time Mort burped into his hand.
Go off every time he burps into his hand.
Still not done. Mort eventually did check his wallet just in time to get blown up again.
Make sure my wallet's okay.
So technically, Stewie killed Mort twice, but the evil couples were just beginning. The next thing they did was a total wreckage, total world annihilation, starting with the Great Wall of China.
I say, we're on quite a run. We blew up the Great Wall of China.
According to sources on Google, the wall gets about 26,000 visits per day, so let's put that at 20,000 bodies. Then what else did these two do?
Up the Great Wall of China, bombed the Eiffel Tower, and
Hold up, again, I'll head to Google. Yep, that's about 25,000 bodies, but these two rascals didn't stop there either.
Look at this note I sent off. Dear Pakistan, up yours. Love, India. Let's see what happens.
They did not need much.
This Penelope's evil, what the hell? Well, Stewie now had to match that kind of destruction, and his task?
Your turn.
Okay, I have to destroy Copenhagen with a tidal wave, and the theme is the Roaring Twenties. That's a challenge.
What kind of twisted, loved-up couple is this? Expect Stewie to grow conscious now and say no? Absolutely not. He was more than happy to go along with it.
Then tidal waving!
So, Copenhagen has a population of 660,000 in the municipality and 1.4 million in the urban area, so that brings it up to about 2 million people absolutely wiped out. So, adding everything, Stewie has accumulated a total kill count of 2,045,111. Now, if you think his number is crazy, wait until you see Peter's. Check out the next video to see how savage Peter's kill count really is.